Hi everybody, welcome very much to SoulGroup Gaming. Today we are bringing a video to talk about the Pokemon games. Before we start, leave a like and subscribe as well, and use the links down below to reach more of my content, specifically my Twitch channel and our Discord server. And what are we bringing today to the channel? A video about the Pokemon world, alright? But what about the Pokemon world are we going to talk about? There are so many things about the Pokemon world. The story, the Pokemon, the characters, the difficulty, the progression of the story in itself, right? Many things that we can talk about. But I want to talk about literally the Pokemon world. Because with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we have the first truly open world Pokemon game. Sword and Shield was pretty close with the wild area and the whatnot, but it wasn't totally open world. And now we have a totally open world with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. By the way, check the videos of us playing the DLC here on the channel. And I want to bring you guys to my favorite part of the Paldea region, which also we made a video ranking all the parts in Paldea, which you can check right now. And I want to show you this area because this area has a lot of good examples of what I want to bring to you today, which is to talk about the naturalization of the Pokemon world. Thank you, Gardevoir. And what do I mean by the naturalization of the Pokemon world? So basically, is making the Pokemon world feel and look natural. And how so natural? A bit more like our world. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the behavior and the localization of certain Pokemon in their habitats and in their environment. Because I think many people that criticize or don't really enjoy the new Pokemon games, they are focusing too much on other elements of gaming that Pokemon purposely is not good at. Because the Pokemon games, they want to be good at specific things, right? And the Pokemon world, or how it feels, it's one of them because no other games have Pokemon and the ability to world build using Pokemon lore, using the Pokemon themselves, using the entries from the Pokédex, and then see that in the real world. You know what I mean? So, let's be more specific. Here, real quick, you can see, for an example, a Toadscruel chilling, two Toadscruels chilling by the bushes, under the tree, right? And that's a good example, a very tiny one. There are way better, guys. Hopefully we can find more here. It's a good example to show you that, like, Pokemon are not just spawned in the world. Right, that happened a lot in Sword and Shield. Just Pokemon just exist, they are just in the world. But with the naturalization of the Pokemon world, where Pokemon exist in the open world makes sense, right? And I'm going to show that to you in this video. So let's go. First good example, it's the Sudowoodo. He's pretending to be a tree, look. He's not moving, he's standing, but if you approach him, he will run away. See? That makes sense because Sudowoodo is known to pretend to be a tree. Okay, let's kill the Heracross, it's too loud. And they are known to also be very cowardly and run away when approached. And the Sudowoodos in the open world, they do just what we expect them to do. You know what I'm saying? Let's show you more examples. A little example as well that adds to the naturalization of the Pokemon world is Pokemon grouping, right? Pokemon from the same species or Pokemon from the same evolutionary line group together, just like animals do in our world with herds, right? So you can see here Fomantis and Lurantis. Fomantis evolves into Lurantis, so it makes sense they're together and they spend some time together because they are of the same species, right? Let's go to the next example. Over here, guys, we have a great example, which is the fortress hanging on the tree. Because Pinnacles do that, right? And Pinnacles evolve into fortress, so it just makes a lot of sense when we see them hanging on the trees, because the Pinnacle is like the pine cone Pokemon or something, or it's designed after a pine cone, and they came from trees. And we see in the anime, for an example, pinnacles hanging on trees. So when you see a fortress hanging on the tree, it just makes sense. Not only for what we know about the Pokemon, but also it gives more depth to the world, and it makes sense, or it gives sense to the Pokemon spawn in the open world. You know what I'm saying? Let's move on to more examples. Over here we have a slacking, sleeping, not moving at all. He will not even attack you, he will not even chase you. And we all know that slackings just slack, right? They just sleep and do nothing. So that's another great example of the naturalization of the Pokemon world. Another thing I've noticed is that sometimes near bodies of water you can see a lot of the same Pokemon, or just a lot of different Pokemon, but sometimes they do gather around the bodies of water, and that also feels very natural, because in our world, in the natural world, animals converge near bodies of water to drink water, right? And even then predators come to the water trying to hunt them as well, right? So that's another great example of the naturalization of the Pokemon world. Let's move on. Another example that I think it's kinda obvious, and maybe you guys already thought about that yourselves, is the type of Pokemon that spawn in specific environments. Like here, we are over here on the Paradise Barrens in the land of Kitakami, as you can see, right? Paradise Barrens. And it's a very rocky place, literally. There's a lot of rocks, there's a lot of dirt in the ground, and you can find Mudbrays, Nosepasses. We can also find Sand Slashes, Geodudes, Earthworms, Sandshrew over there in the background, and it makes a lot of sense, right? And it makes the biome, the ecosystem, feel natural and unique, and that's really important. Let's move on. Now, one thing I think could be improved in when it comes to the point of this video is in certain bodies of water across the regions, there are not enough water type Pokemon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if this river is a good example, but I just remembered when I looked at it, to be honestly. Like, in this river, there is only 2 Magikarps, right? And I think, like, in the natural world, there will be more fishes and different types of fish as well in a river, because this river is big, it flows for a bigger distance, and it's weird to only see 2 Magikarps, but that sometimes, like, happens. Sometimes you have a big lake and there is only a Lotad in there, or only a Surskit, you know what I'm saying? So I think they could improve that a little bit as well, but that's not a big deal. What you think, guys? Let me know in the comments down below. Great example over here, we have a beautiful waterfall here on Onismo in the land of Kitakami, and then by the waterfall we have this cave, which usually has a bunch of Swinub. Today only 2, but 3. But these caves are also very natural. I remember when I caught my first Frigivax, it was in a cave that I barely could see on Glaciado Mountain, right? And then it just made sense, like I couldn't find it anywhere, and it was in a cave. I don't know if it only spawns in that cave, I don't think so, but that happened to me, right? And it just makes sense, because some Pokemon just live in caves, right? And that's a great example as well. Let's continue. And guys, to show you the final example, I think you guys are already starting to understand my point, right? But this was another personal history, so as you can see, we have a beautiful shiny Gardevoir in here, right? And one day, I was completing the Pokédex, and I noticed there was an outbreak of Curlias. So I decided to go here and catch myself a shiny Curlia. I don't know where our Gardevoir is going. Bro, it's going to be despawned! Gardevoir, come back! Alright, it is what it is. It just keeps going, bro. Alright, so, and what happened was, I was like respawning, right, doing a lot of stuff, and I realized that some Curlias were spawning in these bushes over here as well. So I kept my grind to find the shiny Curlia, and then I realized there were 2 Curlias here in the bush. One of them was sleeping, and the other Curlia was eating a berry. And that makes a lot of sense, because great place to sleep under a tree, protected by rocks, in the middle of bushes, and berries come out of bushes as well. Bushes, I know I'm saying the wrong word, guys, it's just funny, alright? And it makes so much sense to me, it felt so natural, it felt so cool to realize that the detail and the amount of sense that it makes to have a Pokemon resting and eating under the rocks, near the rocks, I mean, near the bushes and under the tree, guys. And that really made me like realize that, wait, they are improving the Pokemon world, or they're improving how natural and realistic the Pokemon world looks and feels. And that takes us to the last point of this video, which is, I think, not enough people praise the Pokemon world. Because most people complain about the graphics, about the game being too easy, about the story not being very developed. And we have to understand that with Pokemon Sword and Shield, the Pokemon games changed, right? They are trying to be something new, something that they never were able to be because of hardware limitations and perhaps not wanting to break the formula. But I think it is the area where Pokemon games can expand that has the most potential, which is the world, guys. Because everybody remembers Fortree City from Hoenn region, which is built on trees. Or everybody remembers the Lumiose City from Pokemon X and Y. Hell, everybody even remembers the Pewter Museum, which is not very exciting, but it's unique and brings sense and brings fulfillment to the Pokemon world. And many people have to understand that when we were kids, that's all we wanted. The Pokemon world to be real, Pokemons to be real. And you can experience it better and better with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and especially future games, where the Pokemon world now is bigger and you can actually explore everything. It will look better, I hope, because I think they really need to improve the quality of the graphics, but it doesn't matter if you have good graphics but an empty world and the world that doesn't make sense. And with Pokemon and the lore and all the things that we were experiencing throughout these years, there is a lot of potential to build a super exciting, full of life and creative Pokemon world. And I think these things, these examples I just brought to you, show us that the games are going in that direction. Now, to finalize the video with a sense of realism, yes, the games are not perfect when it comes to the aspect of the world. The world sometimes feels kind of weird. The trees have to be way better if you want to feel more real about the world. But I think that everything that I said shows to you that the Pokemon world is getting more real, more natural, and making more sense. And I think that in the end of the day, that is very important, and that's the cornerstone of great Pokemon games. Because it doesn't matter if you have great story, great characters, or great Pokemon designs, if the world that you spend the most time into doesn't mean anything, right? So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Leave a comment down below. Tell me your opinion about the points that I said. Keep in mind, I know the games are not perfect and they need to improve a lot, but I truly believe we are on a great direction to have some of the best games ever. Not just Pokemon, but in general. But we have also to remember that they change their direction and they're changing how they do things, and that takes some time. Right, guys? But the Pokemon world is growing and getting better. Leave a like and subscribe. Catch me live on Twitch. Until the next time, Esoteric Cloud Surfer from SoulGroup Gaming, surfing out. See you soon.